Hi there. My name is Tercy Engelhardt, and I want to welcome you to the Unreasonably Grateful podcast, Living in Grace by Choice. And every week, I sit down here and I let some wisdom that I've gleaned over what is now my 39-year journey of recovery, and it's been a journey from living an addictive lifestyle for 20 years, 16 years old to 36. This is my 75th year and my 39th year of recovery. So I want to welcome you, however, you got here. Maybe somebody shared with you about the podcast. Yay. If you know someone who you think might benefit from listening, then I would love for you to share it with them because that's oftentimes how people find it. Someone gets value and then they share with somebody about the value they have received, and that person finds out about it. And it's a great way to share and to support other people. So, once again, I just want to remind you that I don't think I have your answers. I'm actually certain that I don't. But I do believe that we learn from other people's stories, from their life experiences, wisdom they've gleaned. And sometimes we hear something that someone says that perhaps we've heard lots of times before, but we're in a place where it resonates, we can grasp it, we can apply it to our life, and it leads us to the next step. And I believe that that is the journey of healing, whether you identify as someone who's dealing with addiction. And remember, addiction can be anything that gets in the way and disrupts your ability to let that divine unconditional love flow through us all the time, every day, everywhere, with everyone. Now, that's a big calling. I actually believe it's why we're here, is to be forgiven our trespasses and to become more of who we were created to be. And this is my way of sharing with you and helping you along your journey simply by sharing my journey, because I think we're not all that different. So, thank you. Thank you for being here. And if you share with someone, great. And then you'll see in my notes that on Tuesdays, I offer individual sessions, which is really simply the opportunity to sit with me as an elder in your community. Because if you're listening, I am a part of your community. And reflecting back to you what I see and what I hear, which is always a better version of yourself than perhaps the one you're listening to. So that's available. Okay, this week, the title of this episode Is our outer world created from our inner world? So, is what we see in the outer, does it come from our inner world? Or is our inner world what we see in the outer world? Okay, so I want to say something about that. Now, we live at a time where I don't know if you're on social media. I'm not on it a lot, but I am on it some. And you hear a lot of people talking about the divide and the split up of families and communities and friends over some of the topics that are being tossed around right now. And for whatever reason, we seem to have lost the ability to disagree and to have different points of view and still get along, which I think that would be a great episode and a lesson to take on as well. And certainly part of this journey, this healing journey that I think we're all on, healing those broken off pieces of ourselves and becoming more of that divine being that was actually created in a perfect image. So, I want to share something. So, if you take an old-fashioned movie projector and you put film in front of it, what gets projected out is that light traveling through that film. So the image on the film is what we see. And I suspect it's not all that different with us, that we have these internal images. That's our film. And it's a collection of all of the things of our life, what we came with, what we've been exposed to, the wounds, the traumas, the highlights, like all of it. And as we look out into the world, that's our light and it projects through this image or these images, and it's what we experience. Which is why I think some people see what's going on in the world right now as division, and other people see it as the biggest opportunity ever. And I think the difference between those two views is our inner world. And you've heard me, if you've been listening for a while, this is, I think, 256th episode. If you've been listening for a while, all we can work on is our inner world. I mean, sure, there are amazing, beautiful, wonderful people like Bob Goff, who's building orphanages, and people who are doing clean water and schools, and that's work in the outer. But I promise you, those people have done some deep inner work, which is then translated as schools and orphanages and clean water and meals. And in the case of natural disasters, the people that show up to volunteer, that is a reflection of their inner world. And so as we go along on this journey together and we're doing the healing work, what we're healing, what we're putting back together again is our inner world. And when our inner world has a picture or is a picture of how we were created, in the image of who we were created, then those works show up in the outer. Groups and organizations gather around you. I know one time I went to see, let me think. She's an Indian woman. She smells like roses. And for the moment, I can't remember her name, but wherever she goes, people get fed. Wherever she goes, schools and churches and all kinds of things show up. And it's because of who she's being. And who she is being shows up as inspirational for all of these people that do the legwork and the handwork and the lifting and that have these projects happen. Much like, I believe, Bob Goff. Bob Goff is just a spark of inspiration, high energy, smart, clever, dedicated, kind, compassionate, loving, faithful. He's just amazing. And he's funny and he's lighthearted. And where he shows up, people gather and they go to work and they build and create things. And I know several of those people. Bob just happens to be the example I'm giving you, but Kim McManus is one of those people. There's so many of them that I know. So what I want you to consider is that the work that we're doing in our inner world will actually translate as to how you experience the outer world. And so if you have some experience of the outer world that keeps you separated from that experience of unconditional love, divine devotion, joy, celebration, peace, if you're separated from that experience, then I am leading you to the inner work, the work of forgiving yourself, forgiving others, being truthful, being of service, being kind, being generous, being patient, all of those divine qualities that we actually all have. We all have them. They're built into the fabric, the DNA of who we are. And like some of us work out and get muscles, some of us work out and become kinder. Some of us are Olympic athletes, and others of us show up and schools are built and orphanages are built and children are saved and people are fed. And so I want to encourage you that what we're doing here is in fact powerful in the outer, but it's a reflection of the inner. So again, if what you're experiencing in the outer is not what you're committed to, if it doesn't inspire you, if it doesn't call you into action to be of service to others, if it doesn't heal and support others then there's work to do on the inner. And, I was thinking how there's 4 steps that I led to my personal recovery from addiction. The first one was telling the truth. The second one was facing my fears, because what had me not tell the truth was some fear. I was riddled by some fear, paralyzed by some fear. So telling the truth, facing my fears, staying in the moment. My fears all existed in the past and the future, but just staying right here, right now. And then the last one was open up to love. That's when you've done the work that you need to do to become a clearer channel for love to flow through you. Then there's simply opening up to that divine, blissful, amazing, unconditional love that wants to flow into you and flow through you and flow out of you into making this a more beautiful, peaceful, loving, and divine world. So that's what I want you to do this week. And I'd love to hear, again, you can reply in comments. You can share what it's like. Those of you that have written me, thank you. Those of you that have responded or liked the podcast or share it, thank you. Those are all opportunities for us to actually practice what we're experiencing that's healing us. It's going to show up in your outer expression. So that's what I want you to take on this week. Begin to identify where the outer view isn't one you're inspired by. It isn't one you're committed to. And then start to take a look at what are the shifts or the changes you can make in your inner world. And then notice how you begin to see or experience life in a very different way. All right? Have a beautiful week. I cannot wait to see you next week. And I will be right here waiting for you. Okay? Understand.